Alright, what's going on YouTube? This is BOXINGwave. The big fight is finally coming up next weekend, next Saturday on the 17th. Deontay Wilder and Bermane Stiverne will be fighting for the WBC title. If Deontay Wilder wins this fight, he's going to be the first American fighter, heavyweight, to win the title in a very, very long time, okay? So, you know, a lot of people are excited for this fight. A lot of people are excited for Deontay Wilder. You know, there's a lot of hope for him to win this fight here. You know, you still got other guys like Brian Jennings on the come up, American fighters, but you know, a lot of people like Wilder because of the knockouts. You know, he has 32-0, 32 knockouts. You know, a lot of people feel that he reminds them of Mike Tyson. Okay, now it's a very hard fight to predict. I mean, you can't get any more difficult than this to predict because both guys have a lot of knockout power and both guys have a lot of weaknesses, okay? Both guys haven't fought the greatest opposition in the heavyweight division, okay? So it's really hard to call. You know, the styles are so different, you know, and the frames of each fighter are totally different. You know, Stiverne is a lot shorter, Wilder's taller, and you know, it's hard to call because at any given moment, any fighter can get knocked out. Okay, Wilder is probably the most powerful fighter in the sport right now. You know, with that right hand, he probably punches harder with that right hand, harder than any other fighter in the sport today, possibly. Okay, and then you got Stiverne, who has a lot of power himself. He has power in both hands. He's a better technical fighter between the two. Okay, he has more of a variety of punches and just overall skill, you know, more technique in his game. But he does not have great stamina. He is a lot shorter, okay? He does not throw a lot of punches in the round, okay? He takes rounds off at times, you know. He might fight 30 to 45 seconds per round, if that, okay? There's, you know, it's a lot of weaknesses in both fighters. And, you know, you can make an argument too. You know, Chris Arreola is the best fighter that Stiverne has fought. And probably the best fighter that Deontay Wilder, better than anyone that Deontay Wilder has faced, at least at the time that Deontay Wilder fought them. But you can also make the argument that, you know, Chris Arreola, his style, he actually fell right into Stiverne's trap. He didn't really fight an intelligent fight with Stiverne. Okay, there's things that Arreola should have did in that fight to be able to beat Stiverne instead of slugging it out with him, you know, and falling into Stiverne's trap when he was against the ropes. If he fought a more intelligent fight, he could have beaten Stiverne because he clearly won rounds against Stiverne, all right? Maybe you can even argue that he won more rounds in each fight against Stiverne. But, you know, he wasn't able to, you know, he wasn't able to get the job done. You know, he fell right into Stiverne's trap and Stiverne beat him. You know, Stiverne was the bigger puncher. He was the more, you know, he takes punches a lot better. He has the better chin between the two of them. And that's why he won those fights. So Stiverne, let's talk about Stiverne some more. Let's talk more about him because everybody seems to only have seen the Chris Arreola fights. If you look at the Ray Austin fight, I finally got around to watching the entire Ray Austin fight. You will see in this fight that Ray Austin, a lot taller, veteran, you know, definitely over the hill when he fought Stiverne, was able to control Stiverne with a jab alone. Okay, he seemed to be a lot more experienced. It seemed like Stiverne just could not get around Ray Austin's jab. Okay, and it was a very simple jab. You know, he just couldn't get around it. And I think like Stiverne fights a lot better when he's moving backward. You know, when you're like Chris Arreola moving forward, you know, trying to get on the inside and close the distance and close in on Stiverne, that's when Stiverne's actually the most dangerous. When Stiverne is coming forward, doesn't do him too much. He's either doing a lot of head movement or he's just popping a quick jab out there. But his jab is like he's parrying the jab. He's not really throwing a strong, stiff jab out there. You know, he's just setting up the jab for the right hand or another big punch, or he's just keeping the range between the two fighters. He's not really doing much when he's throwing his jab, if he throws his jab, okay? And he throws his jab usually from his waist, all right? If you see in the Chris Arreola fight, Teddy Atlas said it himself. He's like, Chris has the better jab between the two. He's just not using it because Stiverne was throwing it from his waist, whereas Chris Arreola was throwing it from the high guard, and he was beating Stiverne to the punch every single time he threw the jab. But the problem with Arreola is he was trying to slug it out with him. All right, he was trying to hurt him, slug it out with him, and he was going for the knockout the entire time. And he welcomed himself to get hurt by Stiverne because Stiverne was a bigger puncher between the two of them. All right, so Stiverne really didn't look good against Ray Austin because he was forced to move forward, because there wasn't too many times where Ray Austin got inside. He did at times, and he really wasn't effective. But you know, Bermane Stiverne does not look that great when he's coming forward. He's too slow on his feet. You know, he's better when he's moving backwards. Now Wilder, he has a solid jab, but it's really not that effective neither. You know, he's just trying to set up that right hand. That's all he's doing. That's his money punch. That's as up to this point, that seems like the only weapon he really has. You know, I don't even really see him throwing a left hook that much. And when he does, it doesn't have the same effect that that right hand has. It seems like he has a lot more power in his right hand than he does in his left. Okay. Wilder actually moves decent for a big, lanky type of guy. And I've noticed that in a lot of his fights. He knows when he's setting up that right hand. That's the punch that he wants to go for. That's the punch that he wants to land. But when he doesn't land it, you know, he's somewhat defensive minded, where he's always jumping back out of the way. He doesn't want to be in close range with anyone. Okay, he doesn't fight well on the inside. He doesn't even clinch well when he's on the inside. Okay, and that's going to be a problem if Stiverne is able to close the distance. But Wilder does fight tall. He does fight tall, and he's good at keeping the range, and he can actually knock you out from long distance because he has long arms, and that right hand, if it lands clean, he's able to knock you out with one single punch. All right, it doesn't have to be an accumulation of punches. He's knocked some of these guys out cold with that right hand from long range. All right, problem is, we don't know if he has a chin. We don't know. We hardly ever see him get hit. Okay, because usually, you know, he's fighting guys that's very intimidated by him. All right, he hasn't fought great opposition as well. You know, he hasn't fought great technical fighters, and he hasn't fought guys that were really aggressive, that knew how to close the distance well. So if he was fighting a guy like, if Stiverne was a fighter like Joe Frazier moving forward, or Mike Tyson, or even like fighters like David Haye. You know, if David Haye, we seen him spar with David Haye. David Haye would know how to close the distance, get on the inside, throw that overhand right, and catch Wilder, you know, possibly knocking him out. But Stiverne doesn't move that way. You know, a good punch of his is the left hook, and sometimes I believe he beat Ray Austin with that left hook. I think he threw the left hook and he followed up with a right hand. He missed with the left hook and then followed up with the right hand, and he got Ray Austin out of there late in that fight. But he was losing the whole fight. But he doesn't move quick enough coming forward. And a guy that like Deontay Wilder that knows how to keep the distance, it's going to be hard for him to do it. Even against Wilder, even though Wilder is not the best mover, he's not here as Lanny Lara in there, but he does it well enough for his size and his reach, you know. And it's going to be hard for Stiverne to do it, you know. Another thing is, too, we don't know if Wilder can fight in the distance. We don't know if he's going to get tired later on, you know. If this fight goes the distance or goes into the later rounds, are we going to see some fatigue from Wilder? We know that Stiverne can go 12 rounds. We know that Stiverne can do it. But Stiverne has such a low volume of punches, it's easy to win rounds, you know. He's not the most accurate puncher, and he can get hit a lot. You know, sometimes he takes damage in order to set you up for a big shot. And that's what he was doing against Arreola. All right, Wilder, he has to be very careful of that. Because Stiverne is most dangerous when he's hurt or appears to be hurt. You know, when you're close enough to throw some of your best punches, that's when Stiverne is actually setting you up to knock you out. All right, so Deontay Wilder is gonna have to stay off the inside unless he lands that right hand, and you know Stiverne is clearly hurt. You know, then he's gonna have to engage and try to get him out of there. But that's if he doesn't knock him out with one punch. All right, but that's when, you know, Wilder will be the most vulnerable, and I think that would be Stiverne's best opportunity to land a left hook and knock Wilder out himself. Someone is probably going to get knocked out in this fight. I think the fight is going to go longer. I think the fight is going to go longer, okay, than most Deontay Wilder fights, unless Stiverne knocks him out early. I think Wilder's going to get the knockout, but I don't think it will be as early as most of his fights. I think most of his fights and knockouts come around the 5th round. Okay, I don't believe that's going to happen. I'm not sure if I told you about the Jason Gavin fight. A lot of people criticize Deontay Wilder for that fight. Gavin was able to close the distance, you know, land some nice overhand rights and go to the body on Wilder. And Wilder didn't really do too well when Gavin was close to him. He didn't really know how to hold on and clinch him well. And I believe Gavin actually had experience sparring with Deontay Wilder. I believe one of the announcers said that. I can't remember, but I remember watching the fight that night. And I think one of the announcers might have said that Gavin actually had some experience fighting Deontay Wilder. And I know Gavin went into that fight very, you know, he wasn't in shape, okay? It was a last-minute call where he got the fight, and he went in there and did whatever he had to do. But he was definitely out of shape. So, you know, a lot of people, you know, criticize him for, but even the Jason Gavin fight, I still don't see Stiverne lunging in that way. You know, he doesn't really come forward fighting that way. He just doesn't do it. You know, so I think the fight could go either way. You know, I think the fight can go either way. I think there is going to be a knockout. I think it could go anyway. I think Stiverne is going to possibly knock him out whenever he's going to, whenever Wilder is going to be on the inside. There's a big chance that Stiverne might be able to knock him out. But then I do think Wilder is good at keeping the distance. You know, I think he's good enough at keeping the distance. Okay, and I don't think Stiverne is really fast enough, and you know, he doesn't give too much pressure in his fights. You know, he likes to fight backing up. He likes to set traps. Every time he moves forward, he looks very he doesn't look impressive when he's moving forward, okay? So I think Wilder's gonna win. You know, just a couple of days ago, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go with Stiverne. I think Stiverne's gonna get the knockout. But I think Wilder's gonna win. You know, I think the Ray Austin fight with Stiverne kind of sealed the deal for me. You know, I was able to watch it yesterday, the full fight. Someone just recently uploaded that fight on YouTube. I know people have been telling me on my comments and my channel, and whenever I discuss it, people tell me all the time to watch the Ray Austin fight. Before they had like a clip of it in YouTube of the knockout, but I never seen the rounds before that. And Ray Austin easily controlled Bermane Stiverne with that jab. And I don't think Wilder has the better jab between the two. Between him and Austin, but I think it's good enough, and I think that right hand is good enough to be able to land sometime in the fight. All right, to be able to put Stiverne away. All right, so I'm gonna go with Wilder on this one. I think it could go either way. And I also think Wilder has a better chance of beating Klitschko between the two. Okay, I think Stiverne can beat Wilder for sure, and he could beat a few other guys, but I think Wilder can beat more heavyweights between the two of them. You know, top heavyweights. You know, I think there's plenty of other guys. You know, I think Brian Jennings got a better shot at you know, I think Brian Jennings is a more technical fighter. You know, I don't want to get into all that. All right. But anyway, I'm going for Wilder. I'm gonna go for Wilder, right? And that's it. So I'll see you after the fight. All right, peace.